What's up, everybody? It's Clark here for the BOS Sports Blogcast. Coming to Atlanta Braves fans in comfort as the team is now 62-76, 14 games below 500, and is, of course, slated to miss the playoffs for the first time since the 2017 season. We unfortunately all knew that since the trade deadline, and probably sooner for many avid fans, that this Braves fan wasn't realistically making the Braves playoffs this year unless several teams had an utterly disastrous collapse in the second half there in the National League, having teams such as the Reds, Giants, and even the Marlins at times above the Braves here, just coming off a brutal weekend series versus the Phillies where Braves nearly got swept thanks to the heroics of Drake Baldwin in the ninth inning of last night's game on ESPN. Thankfully, we won one of the national broadcast games from last weekend versus the Phillies series here in the series versus the Phillies last weekend. Of course, I went to the series, exact same series they had the same weekend last year in Philadelphia in 2024. I'll replay those game highlights here later on this episode as well. This episode is focused, as I have been doing recently, in rebuilding this Atlanta Braves team into contender, advocating for good baseball moves for them to add talent to this roster. There's a lot of open speculation about what they'll do next year coming out of the organization, related beat writers, and even in the broadcasts of the game, in the game the other night. And not quite satisfied with what is coming out from what I've heard so far. And in this episode, I'll be outlining what I think I should do. So, of course, in that postseason run, since 2017, the Braves went 7 straight years. And not counting the Mickey Mouse year, they only advanced in the playoff series 1 and 6 tries. Of course, that being the 2021 World Series championship team, winning both the first round NLDS, NLCS, and the World Series, winning 3 playoff series. Other 5 seasons, the Braves did not make it out of NLDS or the wild card. As last season we had versus the Padres. And for us fans who remember the teams of the 90s and 2000s, they won so many division titles, of course, 14 straight, the record in Major League Baseball, and got 1 World Series championship out of it. Many critics often labeled the Braves as regular season merchants. A little bit harsh, but potentially true. I've outlined in previous episodes the Braves' playoff advance records over the last 20 years since the turn of the decade, and certainly been very ominous since the new millennium dawn 2000. I'll try to post online what that is again to refresh us sometime soon. I did not have us written down for you tonight. So us fans remember, of course, it was well documented prior to the 2004 season within that playoff 14 consecutive division streak by the Braves in the early 2000s. The Braves failed to re-sign Javi Lopez, Gary Sheffield, Greg Max, and of course the offseason just prior, they lost Tom Glavine to the Mets. And many critics of the team labeled the Braves as cheaping out and not spending enough to rehire their stars despite having such a successful decade in the 90s. And subsequently lost in 5 games to the Astros in 2004 NLDS, and a year that felt like the Braves could have gone all the way and at least to the World Series and at least had a little bit more to show in that playoff resume there from the 2000s. Subsequently, the Braves, and that sounds pretty familiar to us Braves fans today, doesn't it? As just prior to last offseason, the Braves failed to re-sign Max Fried, of course, Dansby Swanson, Freddie Freeman years prior. And according to some beat writers, influencers, and podcasters of Braves, a contract the team would never do, the Braves wouldn't, as far as Max Fried is concerned, despite having the 5th largest revenue in Major League Baseball in 2023, the year prior, and the 6th largest in 2024, according to Forbes calculations. Behind them are the Astros and Giants, who often participate in free agency signings, unlike we see the Braves do very frequently. Of course, they signed Matt Chapman the other year, and Josh Hader went to Astros the other offseason. Ahead of them in payroll and revenue generators are Yankees at number 2, then Dodgers number 1, Cubs, Phillies, and Red Sox, who are all routinely in free agency rumors where the Braves are distinctly absent. After disaster seasons that were 2025 this year, and consider last year disastrous season as well. Want to keep the division streak intact. They failed to do that last year. Of course, fizzled in the playoffs. Injuries a little bit more a factor. You could maybe argue last year. But as well, the Braves exited embarrassingly the playoffs 2 years prior. So they absolutely, to me, cannot depend on upcoming prospects to fill the pitching need. They need to buck the trend. This Atlanta Braves team sputtering out. You see teams, saw the Cubs after the 2016 World Series. They completely fizzled out. We do not want this Braves core. We love this Braves core. Matt Olson, Austin Riley, Ronald Acuna Jr., Ozzie Albies. Want to give them every chance possible to be successful next year on the field, as well as whoever is the new manager, give them the most opportunities possible to be successful as far as talent on the rosters considered. So I can't rely on just upcoming prospects such as J.R. Ritchie, Hayden Harris to fill out the Braves pitching depth need and be backup in case of injury. Nor do I feel like can they count on Austin Riley turning back into an MVP caliber player coming off season-ending surgery, at least not to begin the year. Want to consider him potentially have a slow start, and as well account for other players to have slow starts as they have in the opening month of the season. Are key players from Michael Harris, Matt Olson, Sean Murphy. Of course, he went down with an oblique injury in 2024 on opening day to the Phillies, and often struggled. Got his slash lines down here in the notes. We start talking about the DH as well. Braves, they should go with a 6-man opening day rotation. Every year they say, well, we just need 5. In 2024, they gave Chris Sale and Reynaldo Lopez extra rest, as well as Spencer Strider went down with the UCL brace requiring surgery injury there to start April, and Reynaldo Lopez as well. He went down. They both went down. So opening day rotation, we all thought it was solid. Last 2 seasons, nope. Then first couple weeks, completely scuttled. We're looking for options. We're looking at other major league rosters and trying to make way too early trade takes. So one way to avoid that, a good solid strategy for 2026 would be plan on having a 6-man rotation. As well, Reynaldo Lopez, he used to be a reliever, maybe when he could potentially go back to it in a playoff situation, or if they get too log jammed with pitchers, likely he'll come back and be pretty strong. Of course, one of his main pitches was that wipeout slider. Looking for that to be sharp as long as it is. Should have a lot of success. He was very successful even when he tamed back his velo 95 to 97. We saw one of the most memorable strikeouts is last April versus Astros, an Astros series. Reynaldo Lopez started a game, had a nasty sword on Jose Altuve with that great slider pitch. So there's many ways for him to be effective. But going into a 5-game series, you can only have so many starting pitchers. So theoretically, in that situation, he could then slide into the bullpen. So as well, both Chris Sale and Reynaldo Lopez, they missed starts in 2024, even after giving that extra day's rest. So just prioritize health for these pitchers. Of course, Spencer Schwellenbach, he had elbow surgery just a couple years ago and had a shoulder concern. He's currently shut down for the season. We have Hurston Waldrop. He's currently throwing his first major league, his first full year of professional baseball after being drafted last season. And so as well, they have to add that starting pitching. As well, I feel like the Braves offseason, as far as talent acquisition, they have to prioritize adding a top of the order caliber bat. Aforementioned, cannot just rely on Austin Riley coming back to being an MVP caliber player, as well as losing Marcell Ozuna, even though he's struggling mightily right now. All the best teams in Major League Baseball have a DH who have monstrous wrist numbers in addition to the other stats. From Wilmer Flores, who's dropped off in the second half, he had great wrist stats in the first half. Seiya Suzuki, who still has great wrist stats, and we just saw today on the Cubs, Giancarlo Stanton putting together a great and healthy year with the Yankees. Kyle Schwarber, of course, he's going to be a free agent this offseason, potential Braves acquisition offseason. So I feel probably unlikely. Shohei Ohtani as well. So all these front-running Major League Baseball teams, they have a great DH. All with outstanding wrist numbers. Meanwhile, the Braves and Marcell Ozuna coming into today prior to the 10th inning strikeout, send it to the bottom of the 10th inning. Marcell Ozuna was hitting 198 average, 358 OBP, which is pretty good in risk situations, and as well 366 slugging for an OPS, a 724, and 101 at bats. And then after the night, all those slash lines, of course, went down with his 36 strikeout and 102 at bats this season. And compare that to Seiya Suzuki, who's hitting in runners in scoring position situations 305, 389 OBP, a 594 slugging percentage, good for a 983 OPS, and 128 at bats. So that's coming into today. So have to compare it to Marcell Ozuna's at bats coming in today. These stats are coming in today. Should have mentioned that before. So Marcell Ozuna Seiya Suzuki has one less strikeout on the year, having 34, and 27 more at bats to Marcell Ozuna's 35 coming into today's game. These numbers from a DH can absolutely make or break a season. Replace Seiya Suzuki's production with Marcell Ozuna on the Braves. Braves are probably a wild card team right now, just from that one simple change in the batter's box. The suggestion that the Braves love the idea of switching Drake Baldwin and Sean Murphy at DH, aforementioned in the ESPN broadcast last night. Absolutely horrid idea. Someone should get fired from the Braves if they, in due fact, decide to do that next season. They need to acquire a top-order bat and rotate them in at DH. The options I like best are actually in the outfield, and that can give Ronald Acuna Jr. a day off every now and then from the field and even play DH, having 4 stellar outfielders. We'll get into that in just a minute. But back to the Sean Murphy, Drake Baldwin idea. We all know how Drake Baldwin is. He, of course, won the game last night. You want to keep his bat in the lineup any way possible. In a playoff series, things might get a little bit hairy as far as who starts over who, assuming everyone is healthy. But if Sean Murphy is hitting DH twice a week, which means he'll probably be in the lineup 2 to 4 days a week, that is an unplayable bat in key position. While Sean Murphy may have decent wrist numbers, a decent slash line, that is, a 270, 402 OBP, 571 slugging percentage, that's 973 OPS, and 63 at-bats for Sean Murphy with runners in scoring position. He does have 32 RBIs as well. That's that's over an RBI per at-bat. But he also has 22 strikeouts as well, fairly limited sample size. And you can't ignore how cold and lost he looks at the plate for long spells of time. He's currently hitting 134 with a 278, 287 on-base percentage, and 183 OPS in his last 30 games. That's significantly terrible. And, of course, his wrist stats, some of that is he was pretty hot first half of the year. He's really tailed off as these last 3 game splits have indicated. And so, like Sean Murphy a lot, he's a very solid baseball player. Braves absolutely need to keep him this offseason. I feel like they have to have a backup option for catcher, stellar catchers such as Drake Baldwin. If Drake Baldwin's going to be a key part of your lineup, you want to have a solid bat and Sean Murphy to back him up in case something wrong happens next year, an injury or so. And as well, be nice to give Drake Baldwin time off. You don't want to burn his legs as well. Want to keep him as fresh as possible for a potential long playoff run. And as well, if you have my DH solution of adding an outfielder, it might be a situation where you need Sean Murphy to play catcher in a pinch hitter situation role as well and be a defensive stopper late in the game in a playoff situation. So Sean Murphy isn't a productive bat in the Braves lineup. As I said, he's solid overall. Catchers get a little bit of leeway, of course. They're a defensive forward position, but he does have very nice wrist numbers overall, even with that high strikeout rate. But using him and planning to use him in 2026 as a primary DH, along with Drake Baldwin on his off days, is a losing plan. Should be a backup solution, certainly not an ideal one. So Braves need to acquire a top order bat. And previously, in my last blogcast episode, I stated the Braves need to acquire 2 impact bats in free agency. Really clean up. And today, of course, they signed Ha-Seong Kim off of waivers. He's owed just under $2 million for the rest of the season. Braves might stay under the luxury tax while picking up shortstop option for next season. He's owed $16 million for next season. He had a decent July and pretty nice start to his comeback from injury, but wound up with a 226, 314, 355 slash line. In August, somewhat fell off a cliff. Well, returning from surgery injury, shoulder surgery injury, repairing torn labrum. Scary injury for middle infield, especially shortstop, with the shoulder being key to arm strength throwing to first base. Currently does have a perfect fielding percentage from shortstop. Of course, I think Rays use him mostly as second baseman coming back, but his outs above average is -1 compared to 4 his last season and 9 in 2023 when he's fully healthy. And as well as arm strength is shown a dip as well on the Savant page metrics from last couple seasons when he's healthy. He was very stalwart, of course, shortstop with the Padres, one of the best defensive ones, well productive hitter. He's a turnaround project for the Atlanta Braves, a fairly expensive one with $16 million owed next season, somewhat like Kirby Yates was a couple years ago as a reliever. Hopefully he stays around. That is a player option for $16 million next year. Have to assume that he takes it unless there's any doubts of him being everyday shortstop with the Braves. As after that $16 million is up, he'll want another contract from somewhere. And as far as what this means, well, I think the Braves should do this offseason. They can add one top the order caliber bat. Do not necessarily think they need to add 2 impact backs to line up with the hope of Ha-Seong Kim potentially working out. As well, Nacho Alvarez, he's come along and is showing he might be a nice utility player to have on the roster, such as the Guardians have in Schneemann or the Brewers have in Caleb Durbin. He played nearly every position on the diamond in a pinch and would be solid playing for injury. Although it'd be a good idea the Braves have on the bench. He certainly has option, could be stashed in AAA to get him more at-bats. Well, other factors to my tailing back, the Braves needing to add 2 impact bats this offseason. Jurickson Profar and Michael Harris been very solid, have very solid August. Looking for that to continue. So before we get to the pitching of who I think the Braves should add as far as pitching this offseason, who is that top order bat? And my number 1 candidate for that is Cody Bellinger, who unfortunately is represented by Scott Boras. And there's potentially some conflictions there in whether or not that's a possibility for the Braves this offseason. So we'll get to that in just a minute. He has an option, an opt-out, that is. And so other options for the Braves to add an impact bat, top order bat, take some pressure off Riley, Olsen, Raj, Profar, the whole gang. Add an impact bat that will drive in 90, 100 runs next season. Options, Kyle Schwarber. My number 1 option, aforementioned Cody Bellinger. Probably my number 2 option, Kyle Tucker. Could be kind of like Cody Bellinger light. Eugenio Suarez, currently with the Mariners after being traded from the Diamondbacks. Luis Arias. who only has one strikeout in 125 at-bats in risk situations coming into today. That's outstanding. Of course, he only has 40-something RBIs. Bo Bichette, Gleyber Torres, Ozzie Albies. I was pretty high on Luis Arias and Gleyber Torres in my last Blogcast episode. Since then, Ozzie Albies has gone on a heater. In his last 7 games, he's batting over 400 coming into today's game, as all these batter stats are mostly for this episode. 333 in his last 15 games, and as well decent numbers in his last 30. He's starting to look more like Ozzie Albies. As well, we just watched Philly walk Ozzie Albies to load the bases for Michael Harris in last series. It has stellar second half stats as well. So that's just a little bit of indication shown by our rivals who they think is hot and who's a capable bat on our team, ranking Ozzie Albies, intentionally walking him to get to Michael Harris, who's on a notable heater, has been player of the week and well noted, well documented as a hitter. So just to harp on that for a second. As well, his last 119 at-bats coming into the day, Ozzie Albies only has 16 strikeouts. He's vastly cut down on strikeouts. That's exactly what we want. And, of course, Luis Arias, not many strikeouts as well, but Gleyber Torres coming in today, I think he had something like 29 strikeouts in his last 30. So he's striking out quite a bit more than Ozzie, and that's something that the Braves want to cut down on going into 2026, especially in risk situations. And, of course, one player with a Spartan contract will help with that a little bit. So Kyle Schwarber, option mentioned, he'll get paid a lot this offseason. His contract wouldn't make much sense for the Braves, extending him until his mid-30s or somewhat in there, but would absolutely be kind of splash move. The Braves need to have a huge offseason to rectify the impotent offseasons in 2023 and 2025. I do feel like it's key the Braves be a major player in the offseason prior to 2026 and sign a couple of big names, pitching and position player department, give this team morale boost, have the front office say to the team, the new management, and the fans, we're trying to win. We're trying to contend now after what has been a very disappointing end to 2022, 2023, and very disastrous last couple seasons. So Eugenio Suarez as well is in that boat, getting a big contract this offseason. But I'm not sure the fit. They're both power hitters as well, and we've seen the Mariners add Suarez. And not sure how that has impacted the trajectory of that team yet. It's a little bit too early to say. There's certainly a little bit scuffling are the Mariners. They, of course, have the tough road record, winning at home much more than on the road. And they had that clutch win versus the Guardians Sunday. Clutch homer by Rosarena, I remember in that game. So they are winning with power. It's too early to say whether or not Eugenio Suarez has a major impact on that Mariners team, who needed a vast amount of offense. But I'll just say a little bit more variety of a batter in their lineup. Seems like they of course have signed Braves former pitching or hitting instructor Kevin Seitzer, Cal Raleigh with all those home runs. They're notably a power home run hitting team. Feels like they could use a little bit more variety in with that power to give them a bit more looks offensively. And Eugenio Suarez certainly did not do that. Although we'll see. They could certainly go on a heater. Eugenio Suarez could go on a heater, and he himself could win a 5-game series with his impact on the bat and offense, such as we saw Carlos Beltran did in the 2004 NLDS versus the Braves, which we talked about earlier in this episode. If they just sign Gary Sheffield and Greg Max or Tom Glavine back, I don't feel like that happened. So back to who the Braves should sign going to 2026 to avoid 2004 NLDS embarrassment type defeats, avoid 2022, 2023 NLDS type embarrassment playoff defeats. I I feel like the Braves, if things went well, they have a soft schedule in April. If people stay healthy, the Braves could very well win the division next year and be back in the playoffs. Want all these moves for the Braves to become a bona fide contender, not have to rely on any kind of trade deadline. 2021, likely not going to happen again as far as having a magical trade deadline. So, want the Braves to make realistic solutions to potential problems now, and as well, things could go unlucky for the Braves, and these solutions would help curb any bad luck. So, aforementioned, my number one position player, free agents target for the Braves, but I want them to potentially add is Cody Bellinger. He's, of course, represented by Scott Boras. While there's no stated friction between him and Alex Anthopoulos, it's openly speculated they will never do business because of how frugal AA is perceived in contract negotiations, and Scott Boras, of course, being the opposite. Boras represents a lot of key clients across sports, a little bit less in baseball than others, but it'd certainly be nice to get in the door with him in case a player became available later down the road that the Braves really needed. So he has a stellar slash line. Ooh, skip some notes there. He, of course, would be my number one position player prospect for the Braves to add this offseason target. He currently has a brilliant 333 average, 393 OBP, 556 slash line in risk situations with 15 Ks and 117 at-bats, 58 RBIs. He can play all three outfielder positions and can cover first base as well. And it might be helpful to get him in the dugout with Matt Olson, who has a similar swing, and what Cody Bellinger did to get his career and bat back on track after struggles a few seasons ago. They can bounce ideas off each other, those two long lefty swings, and get some lefty dingers going there in that chop house. He can give Ronald Acuna Jr. off days in the field. The Braves' ideal lineup in that situation, you'd have Jurickson Profar DHing, and you'd have an outfielder of Ronald Acuna Jr., Michael Harris, and Cody Bellinger. Absolutely covered there in the outfield. If a ball drops, it was meant to drop on that outfield. Unfortunately, aforementioned Cody Bellinger, represented by Boras, just wheeling back here. Cody Bellinger, if he signed as well, he can give Ronald Acuna Jr. off days at DH. Raj can DH, stay fresh for playoffs. Jurickson Profar, he's been very capable left fielder for the Braves. That might create a little bit of logjam, though. That might create a good problem to have going in playoff series. You might have too many hot bats going in. As well, you might even help, might have a situation where Drake Baldwin DHs over Profar, depending on what scenarios play out. So, aforementioned Cody Bellinger, represented by Scott Boras. That's a little bit of an uphill battle, a little bit of wishful thinking for the Braves. I think a little bit more realistic option for them would be Kyle Tucker. Be a nice ad for the Braves. He has a nice slash line, not as flashy as Cody Bellinger's as well. He had that defensive blunder just the other day in the last series the Cubs play. So he's had some mental lapses this season. He's kind of trending, and that might be a little bit why he's a little bit more in the Braves' wheelhouse. He's going to be a cheaper contract than Cody Bellinger. Somewhere probably between what Jurickson Profar and Anthony Santander got last offseason. More budget-friendly option for the Braves. And he's got a lot of upside as well. Still very young, signing his first UFA contract. He might even be interested in kind of a short try-me deal, somewhat like Cody Bellinger signed with the Cubs last season. And so that would kind of go right into Alex Anthopoulos' wheelhouse there as far as what he normally does. It sucks dealing with those constraints. Sign Cody Bellinger for once. Do something for once. So what happens if the Braves do not add an impact bat this offseason? One of those top order bats I just mentioned. Just like I said a couple minutes ago, even if they do absolutely nothing this offseason, schedule's so friendly in April, they get healthy, go on a heater in April. I could see them riding that to a division title. Of course, Zach Wheeler, he just went down with the Phillies. Hopefully he's okay and does well and recovers nicely. Mets likely spend again free agency. They'll again contend for Division 2026. You have to think Mets will sign probably one of the top names in pitching. Maybe a Framber Valdez or maybe a Dylan Cease or Zach Gallen. I feel like they'll be in on one of those players. So they'll keep adding. And, of course, they have their new rookie McClain. He's looked very sharp versus the Braves and Phillies. Juan Soto, he will always carry that lineup no matter what the rest of the lineup's doing. He'll always be a force, helping them win games. Everyone is touting a potential opening day rotation for the Braves, going here to pitching now. What the Braves should do for pitching, everyone is touting potential opening day rotation 2026 of Chris Sale, Spencer Schwellenbach, Person Waldrop, Reynaldo Lopez, and Spencer Strider. That's an absolutely stellar and great rotation on paper. And this is also what we said about our potential opening day rotation prior to this season, last season. Both years we lost one of our starters for the season within the first couple of weeks and had a plethora of injuries later, with some fans asking, how could this happen? Well, you didn't have very much depth. And even if J.R. Ritchie is the next coming and Nolan Ryan, the Braves absolutely need to aggressively add offseason pitching, starting position at the starting position. They need to aggressively add talent at the starting position in the offseason here to have depth and avoid the same scenarios we've seen the last 2 years play out for the Braves, which have completely hampered the team just out from winning the division. And last year, might have had a little bit better luck in Padres season with more starting pitching, but it was mostly the offense that series that sputtered. So add Cody Bellinger, as I said. So to avoid these scenarios, don't forget the 2024 season, after I mentioned, they gave Chris Sale, Reynaldo Lopez extra rest often during the season, especially early during the season. Reynaldo Lopez was the ERA leader for a while, but did not qualify due to pitching enough innings with extra day off they had in the rotation 2024. They essentially had six-man rotation, even though they did not construct the roster to do so. So why not just construct the roster to do so? We need a plan, even if Joey Wentz is working out of the bullpen. I believe his options reset this offseason, so you can retain Joey Wentz. You can stash him in AAA and add a bunch of relievers, add starters. Of course, there's a 13-man limit to pitchers. So if you're going to have 6 starters, you're going to have 7 bullpen pieces. And the options in free agency are Dylan Cease, Zach Gallen, Framber Valdez, Justin Verlander, Brandon Woodruff, Michael King, Shane Bieber, as far as top of the rotation caliber arms. Both Brandon Woodruff and Shane Bieber are coming back from surgeries. Woodruff with the shoulder and Bieber with the UCL. And Shane Bieber, he's traded to the Blue Jays, where he's currently pitching well also. And Woodruff pitching great for the Brewers since coming back. It feels like they'd be more in on those last 3 or 4 names. Dylan Cease, even with Zach Gallen and Dylan Cease's struggles, someone's going to pay them a lot of money. And for what they're going to get paid, I think potentially Michael King, probably a large payday as well. He's got a mutual option. Framber Valdez, he's got quite a bit more shiny stats. For Shane Bieber and Brandon Woodruff, I feel like the market will be a little bit weak on them with the pitching injuries, but we'll see how they look going through the playoffs. If they stay healthy and stay strong numbers going through playoffs, they could get a large contract. I feel like just somewhere between Justin Verlander, Brandon Woodruff, Michael King, Shane Bieber, be a bit more in Alex Anthopoulos' wheelhouse as far as what he normally does. The Braves absolutely need to sign one of these guys, even if it's a complete waste of money. They already fudged. They already dropped the bag, fumbled the bag, fudged the bag. I was about to say. They already fumbled the bag with Max Fried. They should have retained our 2021 World Series champion. that could have been money wasted. A lot of fans said that his arm was done. He would no longer be good. He's, of course, having another stellar season. Braves simply re-signed him. They're probably a wild card team right now. So those takes are cooked. It might be a complete waste of money to sign one of these top starting pitchers, but the Braves need to absolutely do it for depth. Say to the roster, we believe in you. We're investing in you. We're not depending on a 2021 magical trade deadline. So, in addition to starting pitching talent, there is a couple of very interesting names in the national free agency market. We just saw Pierce Johnson blow the game today, and Aaron Bummer is on the 15-day IL. So there's quite a bit of questions going into bullpen construction for this Braves team. Maybe quite a bit more on paper than the rotation, as far as that's concerned. And I've been harping on a very nice player out of Cuba. He's been playing an NPB last 9 seasons. He used to be a reliever. He's currently a starting pitcher, Levon Monrello, a Cuban-born international veteran. Currently has a 1.07 ERA and 143.1 innings pitched in NPB. While that stat will get any baseball scout's ears picked up, his stuff features modest fastball, 4-pitch mix, fastball, curve, slider, and changeup, with his fastball and changeup not highly rated. He does have elite command of his stuff. His curveball is an absolute wipeout curveball. Huge ground rate percentage. I think the bottom of where you could see his upside would be something like Aaron Bummer, where we see Aaron Bummer in the league with his ground ball ability and a 4.5 ERA. So I think he'll be a productive pitcher in Major League Baseball as long as he stays healthy. And he's certainly one of the only instant impact arms in the international free agent market, along with Rydell Martinez, who's also an NPB right now. And he might be a little bit more of a priority ad for the Braves, and he'll probably be coveted by every team in the international free agency market. He might be the top guy as far as instant impact next season. And so as far as putting together a budget to sign both of them, that might be a little bit tough with the international bonus money. So Rydell Martinez, he features a 100-mile triple-digit fastball with a splitter and would give the Braves a lockdown, high-velocity arm like we haven't had probably ever. Maybe Tyler Matzik, put Tyler Matzik up there. Maybe John Smoltz, getting back to the 90s, but not quite a triple-digit guy, such as Rydell Martinez would be. I think I read that he signed a 2-year contract with the Giants earlier, NPB Giants, that is, just earlier this year. So he's eligible to be signed by a Major League Baseball team. He's got stellar numbers as well. I believe he has a 1-something ERA, a 1.72 ERA. Oh, no, that's Levon Monrello. Levon Monrello has a 1.72 ERA through 9 NPB seasons, so his low ERA from this season's not a fluke. He'll be a productive pitcher, likely, majors. As far as Rydell Martinez, no, I did not. He's got a sub-2 ERA. I have to look that up, and I'll post it sometime. Other international free agent pitchers, looking at Kaima Taira, Kyle Keller, and Yuki Saito. Interesting name. Saito has 119 innings since his debut in 2019. He's got quite electric stuff, but the Braves, they're still reeling and haunted by the Kenshin Kawamaki signing. So unlikely for the Braves to sign him. Could see Saito going to a team like the Dodgers, who tend to pick up some of those higher name, higher end, and higher gamble pitchers from the NPB, as well, younger as well. I believe he'll be eligible for arbitration, such as Roki Sasaki is, and go through ARB. So as far as the bullpen, the Braves, they need to re-sign Raisel Iglesias. He's one of the most consistent RPs, relief pitchers available this offseason. It would be interesting, of course, if Rydell Martinez signed with the Braves, and and if his success translated to the Braves, the success from the NPB translated, it'd be interesting to see who they then cut out for the closer role, as Rizzo would be on that team as well. So 13 pitchers. How would the Braves stack out as far as an opening day roster with these suggested additions? I have to do a little bit more thinking about the bullpen here over the final month. We've seen Dylan Lee struggle. Aaron Bummer is currently on the 15-day IL, although Levon Monrello, just to circle back with that, he's currently a starting pitcher in the NPB, although he used to be a relief pitcher. The Braves were to sign him, be a scenario where he might work out of the bullpen his first season, even be a spot opener for the Braves at times, and then come in next season after Chris Sale's contract is up and be a full-time starter. He, of course, has that wipeout curveball. I compared him a bit to Aaron Bummer. Of course, he's got greater command, and his curveball is a little bit more electric than Aaron Bummer. And of course can hold that out through a starting pitching role, 5, 6, 7 innings. So that would be a very interesting arm to have in the rotation. 2027, 2028, after J.R. Ritchie gets here and before Cam Caminiti gets here. So that would be Levon Monrello, and potentially interesting arm there for that bullpen. So opening day roster, if they're to sign with these additions I propose, you have Hurston Waldrop, Spencer Strider, Chris Sale, Reynaldo Lopez, Spencer Schwellenbach, and then your free agent top tier guys, one of Zach Gallen, Framber Valdez, Justin Verlander, Brandon Woodruff, Shane Bieber, Michael King, etc. One of those guys. And then you got your bullpen, the 7 players, Dylan Lee, Pierce Johnson, Joe Jimenez, of course, coming back from surgery, Rizzo Iglesias, not Jose Iglesias, who they'll hopefully re-sign this offseason. Rydell Martinez, who they'll hopefully pick up in international free agency. Aaron Bummer, and probably Joey Wentz if the Braves can only sign one of Rydell Martinez or Levon Monrello. If the Braves can sign Levon Monrello, he might be in there, or he might have a minor league option as well. Joey Wentz, his options, I believe, reset after this season in the fall. Braves, of course, tender him. He's looked good. He's had a nice run with the Braves. Of course, his stats previously have struggled a little bit. He's got a cutter instead of a slider. Not dissimilar, Joey Wentz from left side with his pitch mix. He would offer him and Levon Monrello offer a little bit similar things, with Monrello having a curveball and no cutter, slider, and no cutter. They both have curveballs, I believe. So they'd both be kind of a little bit interchangeable options, long relief, capable of starter as well, coming from the left side there. Roldy Munoz, who we just saw. So those are the 7 Braves potential relievers for 2026 in my proposed opening day roster. And then you still have one of Wentz or Monrello stashed in AAA if Monrello's signed. That is, in addition with Rydell Martinez, is probably a little bit hopeful thinking. Roldy Munoz, who was called up as a 28th man today. Hayden Harris, who's still in AAA. Not quite made his major league debut yet. Gaisbel Hernandez, he's still lurking as well. All depth. The Braves have relief pitching in AAA. That's absolutely a stacked bullpen. That's kind of thing where you don't have to even go and make a trade in most scenarios unless you have one of your top guys go down. So Monrello, and then you too have if Rydell Martinez is signed and doing well, and you have Rizzo Iglesias, you essentially have 2 closers. So prepared for a plethora of situations there with that proposed offseason acquisition and the bullpen. So, and then the Braves' 13 position players would be Drake Baldwin, Sean Murphy. Don't trade him; he's great backup. Essentially, definitely want that depth. Matt Olson, Ozzy Albies, Ha-Seong Kim / Nacho Alvarez at shortstop, Austin Riley, and you have the outfielder of Ronald Acuna Jr., Cody Bellinger, Michael Harris II. That would be amazing. DH, Jurickson Profar. And then the bench, you have Nick Allen, Eli White. And that's 13 players. And Eli White, I believe his options reset as well after the season, so you might keep around Jake Fraley. He's, of course, Eli White has quite a few more hits than Fraley this season. I believe Eli White had 55 coming into today. As well, his arm is rated better than Jake Fraley's is, so they have similar range and outs above average. Outfielder, similar defenders. They're both good defenders, although Eli White's rated a little bit more with arm and a little bit better speed as well on the base pad. Eli White's just been solid on the bench, and it feels like it'd be great to keep him there. A couple of interesting notes: Carlos Rodriguez and David McCabe are near debut ready in AAA. A lot of people have been calling for C-Rod to come up and play some with the Braves. It'll be interesting what the Braves do with them this offseason. Could potentially conglomerate several players in addition to them and get a need there. Be looking at one of the bottom teams in the league, potentially play a player like David McCabe or C-Rod, give him a look at the major league level, and maybe have a reliever come back in return. In addition with another kind of prospect lower down the system, or someone we're not thinking of, and get a higher name bullpen arm. Those will be topics I'll be exploring over this next month as we're looking final few games of this Braves season. It's certainly been a very tough Braves season, but we are now have no more Thursday games, and soon to have no more Braves games at all. So I have to enjoy this last month as much as possible. Try to watch as many other teams around baseball. Try to get somewhat prediction of playoffs. So, and as well, coming up, of course, Atlanta Hawks. We have some Atlanta Hawks stuff coming up. Got some NBA historical segments coming up later in September. Be some interesting episodes there on the NBA, doing some backup, doing some build-up here. Going into what will be a very exciting 2025 to 2026 Atlanta Hawks season. Just to get the stat in front of me, let's see both Zachary Rizachet and new Atlanta Hawk Kristaps Porzingis are having outstanding international league performances. Kristaps Porzingis for Latvia, 21 points, 5 3-pointers, including several that were around the hash line or further. So he's really extending the floor. 9 rebounds, 3 assists. Quinn Snyder, he's licking his chops, creating all the 5-out sets possible for the Hawks next season. And that'll be key. As many offensive looks as the Hawks can have, the better. We saw the Pacers, they made it all the way to the finals. Of course, with great performances by their players, but they also had a lot of offensive sets and a lot of different options to score, a lot of different X and O things that they did just to make those comebacks versus the Knicks, and even those games versus the Thunder where they still lost series happen. Zachary Rizachet, 14 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks. He's been playing very well, I guess, for Rizachet. We'll dive into this a little bit more on future blogcast episodes. We want him to have a huge breakout game in the preseason, somewhat like he did last year. I believe that was versus the Pacers, if I remember correctly. I have to go back and correct myself on that. We want him to have a breakout game. Of course, he'll be key with Jalen Johnson coming back. He might rest Jalen Johnson a little bit first part of the season, so he'll be a key scorer on offense. We want him to have a breakout game, really start to flourish with his full potential, and I think a big breakout game or a couple of them in the preseason would go a long way, boost his confidence. He's had nice shooting percentages as well with France. we'll circle along all those topics and more in future episodes as well. Aforementioned, the big NBA historical segments coming up in a few weeks. So a lot of great things with the BOS Sports Blogcast coming up here to round out the rest of the year. Thanks for joining me in this episode. Be sure to listen to previous episodes, BOS Sports Blogcast. Listen to Bar of Soap music on Spotify. Listen to Tangible Jazz Dreams music on Spotify. And we'll see you in the next episode.